Hello, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming to this evening's California Fire and Water, a Climate Crisis Anthology reading. I'm John Smalley. I'm a librarian here at the main library in the Humanities Department. Yay, and before we get started, I want to take a moment to acknowledge our community and to tell you about a few events coming up later this week. On behalf of the public library, we wish to welcome you to the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. As the indigenous stewards of this territory, and in accordance with their tradition, the Ramaytush have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as caretakers of this place. As guests, we who reside in their traditional territory recognize that we benefit from living and working on their homeland. We wish to pay our respects by acknowledging the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush community and by affirming their sovereign rights as First Peoples. Today's program is part of July's Everybody's Climate program series, which we hope will inspire folks to act for a safer, greener, and more sustainable future. So I want to I'll say if you want to learn more about the programs, you can pick up one of these blue booklets on the table to your right, where you will also find coffee and cookies. Help yourself. You can find out about the events also on our website, sfpl.org. Check the events calendar. So now I want to mention a few programs. Later this week on Sunday, we're screening a film called Pacific Mission, and that was about an expedition on ship to a remote island in the Pacific called Henderson Island, the most polluted island in the world. And this crew of people removed 10 tons of garbage from that island. It's quite spectacular visually. And there'll be a Q&A with one of the representatives of Plastic Odyssey, the organization that sponsored that program, that salvage operation. The same day, Sunday, these are both in this room. At 4 p.m., there's a 1-hour presentation called The Fraud of Plastic Recycling. That's pretty intense. And that is by a local lawyer who works with the Center for Climate Integrity. I invite you to come to that. A little bit from the description, you'll learn how big oil companies have long known that plastic recycling is not a viable solution for the plastic waste crisis, but they continue to mislead the public through deceptive marketing and education campaigns. I want to also just mention something at the end of the month, July 31st. Also in this room, we will have the Del Sol Quartet performing something called the Jingwei Bird with current Poet Laureate of San Francisco, Jenny Lim. And that will be at, I believe, I forget the time, either 5 or 6 p.m. So check our events go 6 p.m. It says right here. So that's my announcements for upcoming events. Perhaps I should briefly introduce our host, Kim Shuck. I think most of you know her, the 7th Poet Laureate of San Francisco, author of many excellent books, including Exile Heart and Pick, a Garnet to Sleep In, a set of fabulous essays, Noodle, Rant, and Tangent. We have many of our books here at the library, so check our catalog. Also, Kim and I have the pleasure, Kim facilitates a monthly poetry reading the second Thursday of each month, so please do come back next month. Please now welcome Kim Shuck.
We always do sound so much more impressive in bios, don't we? I mean, nobody ever introduces you by saying things like, just really can't keep track of her keys. Just having increasing problems getting up when the alarm goes off. Stuff like that. It just isn't what we say about ourselves, but all of it's true. I don't read bios at things like this. I just never do. I introduce people by, we just say lovely things about people and then invite them up to the microphone. Shein Wen is our first reader, and is someone who is a good friend and a just punk poet. But I did want to mention the one sort of dramatic thing that's recently happened, which is you You just got a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Berkeley Poetry Festival, which really impresses me and you were on the cover of American Poetry Review. We are not worthy. Welcome, Shein Win, up to this microphone.
I have my reading glasses just in case. Thank you, Kim. This anthology is just outstanding. I wish Molly could be here as well. So I'm so grateful to Molly for pulling it together, and Kim for organizing and hosting and just being your awesome usual self.
Really Molly's show.
Yeah. Yeah. Hi, Molly. I am going, and I would also like to thank John and the San Francisco Public Library for hosting and all of you for joining. So I would like to read, Kim and Molly asked us to read a poem by another poet. So I would like to read a poem by Debbie Lascar. And I loved this one. I mean, there were so many amazing poets. But I will share this one by Debbie. Ars Poetica with Red Riding Hood. Suppose she moves to the edge of the forest, spends her time staring into the eyes of night from the window. Suppose she was raised to be unafraid of hunger and loneliness, well-heeled wolves. Suppose it's a symbolic journey, that little girl from the red hood confronting the demon. Suppose the moral arc of that story points back to the paying audience waiting to be entertained. The girl outwits the wolf and saves the grandmother, right? Suppose the girl is charmed by the cloak she wears, its bloody color, a bullfighter's flag beckoning, or cheap travel-sized lipstick from the convenience store. Suppose the distance between the ordinary world and the denouement could be measured by a lie detector. Suppose the girl is not a girl. Suppose she too is a wolf. Suppose she is a lot older than the storyteller pretends her to be. Then it's another Persephone and Hades story, I suppose. We all know what happens next. 5 red seeds causing the invention of perennial winter. The wolf swallows the grandmother whole before the girl rescues her, right? No one ever mentions the crops burning, how the girl in red is the match setting the world, and its old-fashioned ways alight, how it won't stop. This burning, until trees and fields reduce to charcoal, until the blinding smoke lifts, a new landscape is drawn. Yay. Yeah, Debbie's an amazing poet, and this is my poem that's in the anthology. Eye to eye, they solemnly convene to make the scene. The version, the real one, the empire. Azusa, Covina, Fontana. Dialing in the 909 in blind time. The only one left of her and his kind. The drive-by, the skip and the skipper. Miniskirt mirage and dust bunnies. Tassels and bonnets. Trump card. Wind winding round, sounding off board. Out. Snap out of it. On the back of a flatbed, a reappearing and disappearing and tearing of the hair. Clumps of sad lands and badlands and ballads and frat beds. Welcome to Costco. I love you. A burning and yearning, ballast and binge, stone, dirt, ice, white fire, blood dust, stock lust, lapdogs, silicone, and eyelets. Teleprompters and dust bowls, orange groves and smokestacks. Check the oil, piles of soil, spoil him, her, me, more, tracking the score. It's keeping track of the fact, watching them, watching back. Come now, how? Snap out of it now. Thank you.
Our next reader is Alison Luterman, who, when this book was being created, I got myself a copy of Desire Zoo. And then when I found out I was going to have to be the one host of this, I went back and read a bunch of your stuff. I'm sure we've read together in thumbnail space a number of times. But I just, I had forgotten how much I loved that book. And I really appreciate that you're here. Please welcome Alison to the microphone.
Thank you. Do I need to move this up a little bit? Or yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, San Francisco Library. Yeah. And thank you, Molly. Molly, we miss you. We love you. We're grateful to you. The first poem I'm going to read is by a little boy, 4th grade, from Trillium Charter School. His name is Oliver Luna, and it's called The Deer. And I picked it because when the fires raged through, and all the people were suffering and lost their homes, but also the deer and the possums and the squirrels and the birds and all the critters that live there. I was thinking about them too. So the deer. I am a deer. I see the forest getting cut down around me. I feel the earth getting warmer. I hear the ocean waves getting closer and closer to me. I can taste the dry dust blowing in my mouth. In the summer, me and my babies are running out of water and dying. I fear the mountain lions getting hungry and going to eat me. I was a poet in the schools for about 1,000 years, and this feels very familiar to me also, those poems. I can tell exactly what his teacher did to get that poem out of him. And then this is my poem. I lived in the time of great fires, which was written before the pandemic. So the masks I'm talking about are the N9s, not the ones we were wearing during the pandemic. I lived in the time of great fires. On my way home from buying breathing masks at the medical supply store, I stop at Goodwill because it calms me to walk slowly up and down the rows, fingering rayon and cotton, silk and wool. The sky outside is white with some gray and brown mixed in, like marled yarn for a sweater no one wants to wear. I have my new air filter mask over my face, which makes me look like a frowsy, anxious bank robber who's just stopped off to hunt for bargains on her way to a grand heist, which is how I feel about human life here on Earth today. We are pulling it out of the cash box at gunpoint. The Arctic ice shelf breaking and melting, the last polar bears, the last tigers, last years of livable climate, as if we were getting away with something we won't ever get away with. Once again, California's burning, and every thought begins and ends with fire. It's primal, the animal need to seek shelter, though all the grass is kindling now, kindling the trees, even the sky seems swallowed in flame. I'd say I lived in the time of great fires, but what time comes after that is what I want to know, and who will be around to name it. So a little day brightener.
So the structure of this was that I picked a few poets, and Molly picked a few poets, and that's how we sort of came to this particular lineup. And it's kind of great because it's a really good group of poets. And I'm about to say something that I don't think Susan knows about Susan. We had read together. We've read together a couple of times, and we read together one time, and I got distracted by, I was sort of afflicted by a poem, if you know what I mean. I got sort of held up by a poem, and I started writing it down. And then I looked up and realized I was the next person. Someone had just said my name, and I should really be putting my pen down and standing up, which I think is one of the best reasons to read together. Susan Cohen's one of my favorite people to read with, although it doesn't happen as often as it should, which we could say about a lot of things. Please welcome Susan to the microphone.
Thank you, Kim, and thank you, Molly in absentia. And how great to be amongst you and reading with these wonderful poets. It was wonderful to have the reason to go back and look at this anthology, which came out a few years ago, and remember how terrific it is. So I'm very pleased to be in it as well as to be here reading from it. So my parents lost their house in what we thought was the largest fire we were ever going to see, which was the Oakland Hills fire in 1991, which destroyed more than 3,000 homes and killed 25 people. So much has happened since then. But anyway, after my parents luckily were traveling, and my husband and I had to go up and sift through what was left, which was nothing, and tell them. At that point, they had been married 60 years, and all of their travels and all of their photos and everything else had been in the house. So this is called On the Anniversary of a Firestorm. Not one. My mother on the phone. Not one wall, not one floor, not one painting left, not one chimney, not one plate. How to draw a picture of not. The news says tongues of flame, but a firestorm has teeth that bite and grind to grit, a hunger galloping like Cossacks. Their neighbor, who didn't know they were away, hammered their door with fists and shouts before she fled to save herself. The road, a tunnel through flames, people stumbling downhill while swatting cinders that smoldered in their hair. We send my parents photos to prepare them for their homecoming, then back to the work of not finding anything to find. My mother hopes just one, fill in the blank, survived. She begs relatives to replace her shoebox full of snapshots, each penciled on the back with names and dates, proof of faces once attached to the voices in her thoughts. Some mail her images bled to brown, likely to dissolve in daylight, but the generations frail. They forget who's who, details lost, the way fire swallows cars, licks the color off, spits out the only frames of steel. On the street where their house stood, puddles of pure aluminum congealed and a fleet of gutted cars waist high, bumps in the new landscape, tires bitter in the air we breathe. My mother wishes she had given me the samovar, regrets denying that footstool to a niece who loved its childhood perch visiting our Nana, its bowed legs of mahogany, pink needlepoint of blossom on the cushion tops, deep green. My mother accepts fire as chastisement. Fire, the sternest parent, chides her not to cling. Yet she wishes, are you sure there's not just one? For days, we hunkered on foundation walls, sifting with a screen what was my parents' house and then was not. The ashes, warm at first, granted us a few fused coins, earrings melted into mass, shears crusted with something else that had swapped atoms for ash. Ash coated us till we were colorless, blanketed us with stillness that begged not to be disturbed. As we sieved for anything complete enough to tell its story of survival, we could see for blocks where others also bent knee-deep in ash and excavated silence. So the other poem I chose to read is by Sebastian Baker, who at the time was in the 5th grade at Arcata Elementary School in Humboldt County. And Sebastian, wherever you are, I hope you're still writing because you've got what it takes. This poem is called Breath. I breathe in death. I breathe out love for this world. I breathe in sickness. I breathe out new life. I breathe in smoke. I breathe out warm cookies. I breathe in gas from cars. I breathe out melted chocolate. I breathe in pollution from oceans. I breathe out peace for our world. What do you breathe?
I think the first time Heather and I read together was in a really cool garden in North Berkeley, but I'm not sure. I know we've also read at Booksmith. I know we've also read at other places. Heather Bourbeau has, I'm just going to say it. I have an attitude problem when it comes to people writing about Native history when they don't know. So if I like the way somebody's written about it, I flatter myself to think that means it's good. And I have never once been offended by the things that Heather has said about Native history. It's one of the better compliments I could give, really. Please welcome Heather up to this microphone.
I will happily take that compliment. Thank you, Kim, and thank you, Molly, if you're watching, for organizing all of us here. I'm going to read my short, I wrote it as a 100-word piece, but the beautiful thing about flash fiction is, it floats both ways, and as all the best things do. So this is Druids Hall, North Marin. She never understood the need to celebrate anything, including the end of deadly fires, with a barbecue. Instinct or hair of the dog. Like smokers on a hike, men gathered around the wood, paying tribute and gratitude to those who fought to save their homes, their lives. She had her potato salad and warm soda, far from the smell of burning, the fear and loss too raw to scar. She was grateful to be alive, to have these people, or she would be when she could feel again. For now, she allowed herself the quiet of shock, the numb of relief. And then for proper poetry, I'm going to read, Glass by Danusha Lamoris, who was, at the time that this was written, the poet laureate of Santa Cruz, just to keep all our poet laureates going here. It's the small things that haunt. Oranges because my mother used to peel them for me, slip the rough sections in my mouth. Luckies because of the wayward boy who lit my first, leaning against the railing of the pier. Oh, solo mio wafts from the downstairs apartment. Now it means all these summers. Can't they just turn it off? I walk through Queen's Anne's Lace in late September down to the cove where I used to meet a man who was dying. That flower now in my vocabulary of loss. What doesn't in time enter grief's lexicon? When I think of our house after the fire, all I see are pools of pink glass, once our ice cream bowls, melted on the ruins. Thank you.
Our next poet is Jane Berson, and the way Molly spoke about having you at this event, what she told me was you two were going to like each other. And Molly is frequently right about things like that. But what I just found out before the show is that Jane has been friends with some people I've loved very much. So that resonates. Also, just writes really well. So let's have Jane up here at this microphone, please.
Oh, thank you, Kim. I know why she said that, because I could see it right off. Molly and I have had a lot of laughs together, because she goes to this cafe in the morning. I told her, I said, when you die, Molly, she sits against the wall because it has a plug for her computer. I said, they're going to have to do a little outline of you on that wall. So, and I could see your sense of humor is unsparing. I got to find my poem here. Thank you very much, Kim, and to Molly too, of course. Wonderful poet so far, beautiful. It's a little poem, hard to plan for. Outside the tire shop waiting room, a sparrow underneath a faded Subaru sips from a puddle of condensation dripping from the air conditioner. Smoke from the fires is everywhere. Have a seat. The young woman behind the counter takes care of business. I'll get him right on it. The dude next to me into his phone, scrolls through pics with an expert thumb. An older lady across from me, fidgeting with the clasp on her purse, looks at me, her face full of apology. I smile and look away. The tire shop is full of the smell of new tires. We have Coffee Mate and hunting magazines as we wait, and are grateful to have made it and not to be stuck on the side of the road. I look out the window again. The sparrow stays in the shade under the bumper, her beak open for the heat, as if she's trying to sing. This is a poem by Olivia Willoughby, a ninth grade student at that time of the the anthology. And she reached back to 1856. Lives up in Grass Valley, where I'm living now. And there's been quite a history of fires up there. So she reached back and she wrote Nevada City Fire of 1856. I saw the cloud of black smoke crawling over Nevada City like a black cat sneaking up on a sparrow. The screams, like screeching minecart brakes, trying to stop, but failing. The smell of burning wood drifted over the town like the rolling waters of the Yuba. I tasted the ashes as they fell in my mouth, like bitter snow drifting. I turn around. The fire was nipping at my ankles like a dog biting at a cow's hooves. It raced around my skirt, brushing against my legs like mountain misery on a windy summer day. The scorching heat blistered my skin, popping like bubbles on the rapids of the Yuba. I tried to run away, but the flames caught my skin. I closed my eyes to let the pain wash over me, like sinking underwater, watching the waves move over me. Thank you.
Moad Bel Khalifa, fourth grade student from Cleveland Elementary School, Oakland. Once, I was the mist in the clouds. I was the one drop of rain, but now I am the storm. But now to fire, but now to smoke. We are missing Aileen Cassinetto, Poet Laureate of San Mateo County Emerita, and editor and author of a number of pieces about our climate, which you should go read. And her poem is called Fireborn. I once went wild over repurposed things, tweeds, beads, driftwood, silvery wormwood got worked into frames, footgear, chandeliers. My favorite, though, is a floor lamp from a limb trimmed from an old manzanita, the color of burnished red pear. Wild child of the last wildfire, evergreen and unsparing, our gratitude for the little apples and the many equally wild and resolute things that fed on them, that charm of hummingbirds, that grist of bees, that flutter of butterflies. You were the kindling and the offering, the time-worn prayer above the movement of air. This one, I get to read Molly in a second. But first, Casey Fitzsimmons. Because Molly and I were reading some people who couldn't be here to read. Into the Thunder. Its self-made wind cracks trees. In its din it drowns the thin patter of falling cinders. The dog whines, claws clattering, you cough, crouch, hold your breath, your fright becomes my dread. A thing so elemental no water could possibly relieve it. A chthonic force belonging to nature. It's not thought, but this deep loathing of palpable, pervading horror that will not be quenched. My pictures singe and curl, my walls and pages tear and crumble, dissolve to silt. My speeches hiss and fizzle, finally pop, opposed across a chasm of what I do not want, will not have, refuse to be reconciled to, cannot be rid of. Fire and water roar, do away with all I thought I would remember. I'm having a brain fart. And the brain fart is, I cannot remember which of the kids' poems, it doesn't matter. I'm going to read this one next. I had this brilliant thought that I was going to read them in the order Molly wanted them in, and that, Dreaming of Fire by Twyla Hoshida, 4th grade, Cleveland Elementary School, Oakland. 1. I am the embers of a flame. From the wind I learned to spark like a star when the breeze blows. The wind taught me to move like a flash of lightning, to move and burn the grass. When I move, I dream of fire spreading throughout the land. 2. I am the storm, destroying everything, blowing over the earth like a colossal fan at top speed, twirling my fingers through the clouds, kicking off water like an angry beast. I am destruction. And this is one of Molly's, and it's terrible because I have kind of a party piece where I read like Molly for Molly, but since she's not here, I'm going to try not to do that. And we will see if I pull that off. Particulate matter. If all you counted were tires on cars left in driveways and stranded beside the road, melted dashboards and taillights, oil pans, window glass, seatbelt clasps, the propane tanks in everyone's yards, though we didn't hear them explode. R13 insulation, paint inside and out, the liquor store's plastic letters in puddled colors below their charred sign. Each man-made sole of every shoe in all those closets. The laundromat's washers, round metal doors. But then Arco, Safeway, Walgreens, the library, everything they contained. How many miles of electrical wire and PVC pipe swirling into the once blue sky? How many linoleum acres, not to mention the valley oaks, the ponderosas, all the wild hearts and all the tame, their bark and leaves and hooves and hair and bones, their final cries, and our neighbors' so many particular, precious, irreplaceable lives that despite ourselves, we're inhaling. So the note was that there would be a couple of Molly's poems, and we are definitely doing that. And since there was no note about what those should be, I have chosen a couple of them. And I hope she approves when Molly watches this. Intrigue. I love living in a town so small it still has a noon whistle. There is one stop sign, 4-way. We have our own post office. People here say hello, and they watch where your car is at night, not wanting to miss a good story. This makes me want to park flagrantly outside the homes of unsuspecting bachelors and lurk in the parkside over breakfast to hear news of my own misbehavior. I am perched on the edge of being familiar. We probably all love Molly's poems. I'm a big fan. And this one, where is the lake of dreams? In the belled hollow hours before dawn, I stand in the dark and watch you sleep. Alone on the wide bed of the night, you are peaceful, one hand curled under your cheek, an arm flung out. The distance between us is narrowest here in silence. I can be near you, just out of reach, with my back pressed flat against the cool glass of the window. My eyes follow the trail my tongue has traced along the square edge of your hip, trestle of ribs lifting and falling, the innocent fold where shoulder and armpit meet. The long dead light of Arcturus drifts across your palm, illuminating love line, lifeline, calloused fingers. If I could speak and you could hear me, I would say this is love, one body framed in a window, guarding the other. We were talking about how, before this started, about how we've lost a lot of poets. This one was a particular wrench, although they're all their own particular wrench. So I'm going to read a poem by Maureen Hurley, who was in fact one of my substitute moms. Love in a Time of Fire. Some blamed the hot Santa Anas, while others cursed the Diablo winds howling at 75 miles an hour. Whatever you call it, a maelstrom devoured Santa Rosa de Lima's namesake. The city is blanketed in a layer of ash, so a friend left red roses on all the cop cars. What else was there to do in a time of fire? We became the light in a darkened land. And this one is My Old House by Marcus Wright, 6th grade, James Monroe Elementary School, Sonoma County. Come through the dark lane of cold air like a ghost flowing through your bones. Look around at the huge tree looking down on you. Listen carefully for the sound of sobbing. Walk down the block until you see a park. Run up to the park to see if it's broken. Smell the rain falling in midnight sky. Touch the rust on the monkey bars. You can make out a human figure of a boy. The boy is sitting on what used to be a crimson swing, looking at a house 10 feet away from the park. Hear the sobbing again, but it sounds close. You can see the boy crying by the shining tears falling down. And that boy misses his old house. And that boy is me. I mean, we have the time, but I'm not sure everybody wants to hear me read 3 of mine. So we're going to start with 1 and move on from there if it seems appropriate. This is my one from the anthology. It's called Always Fire Season. Kim reads the stories of tree rings out loud, and for the last time. Thursday, our kitchen fire alarms went off, breathing lives as we were, breathing the collected things of lives, the fur and claws, the feathers, the ID cards and photographs and pocket lint. Here in the Bay, our sunrises and sunsets have changed. Extreme wildfires, part of the new normal weather, and always fire season. We know the forests by when they burned, whose ashes on our windshield, whose ashes in our skin, in our lungs. The cars, immobile, fused to the melted roadway. Less rain, the cracked lips of hillside, flaking skin of floodplain, and the dice roll of pet sparks, conditionally captured in wire, running the dry west. The curled and silvered fingers of pine as monument. Okay. Do have 2 more picked out, so let's try that. And after so much fire, I thought water might be a good ending. Frog. When the first 4-legged frog cousin pulled herself out of water, it wasn't rejection. Soft, wet skin called her back again and again. Blood, a contract with water, a promise in the cells, a rattle we pick up and hand on, a moaning song that arches and clenches to bring our babies cradled in water, a gift returned, a rattle we pick up and hand over one generation to the next. And lastly, this, bridges and crossroads. WPA bridge over the Neosho, I stood on it in full flood with my dad, the water just kissing the undersides of the boards, the riverones shivering up my legs. It stood until the flood licked out the footings. They replaced it, but when I dreamed the Neosho, the old bridge is there. They took the zinc out until they hit the daylight of 3rd Street. You could see the crack in the pavement. It looked like another pothole, and there was sunlight in the mine. Sunlight just there with the dull ache of lead and the grim scowl of Jack. Those cottonmouths know some songs, too. They know some fish songs. And once, crossing Tar Creek Bridge, a grandma snake got hit by a pickup, and in her last breaths, we drove up on her there like a burning library, her songs falling away in curls taken by updrafts like smoke prayers near the water. She looked me in the heart and whispered just the one secret. Thank you all for being here. Ma, Alison, Susan, Heather, Jean. Remarkable reading. Thank you, Molly, even though you couldn't be here. And thank you, Aileen, even though you couldn't be here either. Giant hugs to all. Thanks for attending. Do come to Poem Jam. We have a great time. Take care. Bye-bye.